Welcome to a Saturday live stream, and this one is for everybody on the West Coast because I know that it's getting pretty late there over there on the East Coast, probably midnight over there because I know it's almost 9:30 here, so it's past midnight over there. Um, looking for my looking for my knife. I started my live stream and I don't know where my knife is. How am I going to open up all my boxes? Ah, I found it. We're good. It's all good. Okay, so let's see here. It's 4:30 in the morning UK. Wow. Okay. Well, it's good to see you, Partworks comics reader. Um, let's see. Did you see that there were some DC Finest announcements today? They updated the Penguin Random House catalog with a few new entries. So in case you missed this, and also if you missed all of the Epic Collection announcements that Omar and I did on Thursday, you really should catch up on that. So head over to the Near Mint Condition Facebook page, the Near Mint Condition YouTube channel, and check out the Epic Collection announcements. I also posted all of them on my Twitter feed, and you can see them on my Instagram and on my Facebook page. All the announcements are there. Nice to see people showing up here. Hi, Phil. Hi, James. Power Packers 90 is working overnight. You're working overnight? Sounds like fun. Well, good to see everybody here. I'm glad that you were all able to come out and join me here. Okay, so I said there were some announcements. They updated the website. You want to take a look and see what was announced here? DC Finest Batman Red Skies. From what I understand, this is the volume before year 1 and year 2. So it's pre-crisis. Um, and it's going to be still consecutive. We'll have 3 Batman volumes in a row. It's just that this one is the one that comes before. And the contents of that, let's see here. Secret Origins number 6, Batman Annual 10, Batman 386 to 400, and Detective Comics 553 to 567. So yes, that gets us all the way up to the stuff that was collected in the year 1 and year 2 volume. Flying Puppets Comics says, I love the new Epic announcements, but I was sad to hear Marvel stopped with the reprints because there was a lot of books I needed. They didn't stop with the reprints. They're slowing down. We did announce 2 reprints, the X-Men Bishop's Crossing volume, and what was the other one? I don't even remember now. But yes, we did announce 2 reprints, but I think that there will be more coming. And I wonder if they just have to figure out the whole situation with tariffs and all that, because it's going to become more expensive to print stuff, and the return on reprint volumes is not as great as first run volumes anyway. So I don't know. We'll have to see. Red Skies fits perfectly between my Hachette Nocturna and Night Thief and year 1 and 2. Okay. Oh, sorry. Nocturna the Night Thief. I don't know that volume. But that's good. I'm glad that's able to fit in your collection really nicely. So the other next volume that they announced was Justice League. Oh, by the way, check this one out. The page count on this is 656 pages. So it's going to be the biggest DC Finest so far. Another one coming out August is Justice League: The Return, which, from what I understand, this is the last part of the Detroit era Justice League when they were operating out of Detroit. This Jerry Conway's era of DC Finest, or sorry, of Justice League of America. The omnibus, from what I understand, is very out of print, so this is a good chance for those who missed out on that to have this material in hand. Justice League of America 241 to 261, Infinity Inc. number 19, and Justice League of America Annual number 3. Jacob says he's really excited for the newest Justice League announcement. Don't know a lot about it, but I hope it's a good point to jump on. I mean, from what I understand, it's the finale of this era, so maybe it's not that great of an era to jump in on. But you know, is what they're giving us. So I haven't read any of it, so I'm gonna jump in this part of the story, and hopefully it'll be fine. Also on the list is Blue Beetle. The Blue Beetle challenges the Red Knight, and this is the Steve Ditko stuff. So if you are a Ditko fan, you'll definitely be for it here. Um, classic Blue Beetle from the Silver Age. Let's see here. This is 368 pages, so it's actually pretty small. It's on the smaller side of things. Um, in fact, it might be the smallest DC Finest that we have so far, but that's okay. Um, Still should be good. And what's collected in here? Someone's going to have to help me out here. Captain Atom, 83 to 86. Blue Beetle, the 1964 series, 1 to 5. And then Blue Beetle, the 1965 series, 1 to 5. And then 50 to 54 and Charlton Bullseye. So someone tell me, why did it skip so many volumes in there? What happens during Blue Beetle numbers 6 to 49 that they couldn't include it here? Is it all reprints? It can't be that many reprints because it didn't have that many issues before it, unless we're talking about a different Blue Beetle. Maybe the maybe different, but I think this is the beginning, the Charleston Comics run. It's not a Ditko cover. No, not a Ditko cover. But let me get that cover back up so you can see that. I don't know who did that cover. That it might be Ditko. And the last volume that they announced here is, let's pull it up here. Another events line. Now that we've finished with the 0 Hour series, we're moving on to Crisis on Infinite Earths Part 1 by Marv Wolfman Perez. And this one is 560 pages. These are all $40. And this collects Justice League of America 241 to 261. That's a lot of lead up. 20 issues of. Oh no, this is. Sorry, I'm reading the wrong one here. No, here we go. This is better. This volume collects stories from Swamp Thing 39, Batman 389 to 391, Detective Comics 555 to 558, Justice League of America 244, Green Lantern 194, Wonder Woman 327, DC Comics Presents 78, Infinity Inc. 18 to 19, Fury Fire 41, All-Star Squadron, for those of you who have been looking for some of those issues, 50 to 52, and then the first part of Crisis. Now, this was a 12-issue series. We're only getting issues 1 through 4 here, and the Losers Special number 1. So everything else will be included in the second volume, which will come out at some point. We don't have an announcement for that one yet. Like some of the Marvel books, Blue Beetle started out as other titles and just transitioned to Blue Beetle, just keeping the old numbering. So that's what's going on there. Okay, that's good to know. Thank you for telling me, Phil. Um, I've been reading this one, Plastic Man. Anyone check this out? This is great stuff. 1941 to 1944. Nothing about this going in. Not familiar with the golden age period of the character, or really this character at all. I've read some of like the Kyle Baker stuff, which was really loony and really great. This oh, here we go. Specifically, Dr. Zero says Blue Beetle 50 was renamed from Unusual Tales. So there you go. Perfect. Thank you. This book was Police Comics. Then eventually Plastic Man got his own series halfway through this, but it's really good, and it reminds me so much of Will Eisner's The Spirit. It has a very similar style in both the look of it and the writing, and that's because Jack Cole was an assistant for Will Eisner on The Spirit for a few years before jumping into this title. In fact, he ghosted it when Will Eisner was doing stuff for the Army. So obviously it's a great influence, and it really feels like Spirit. And so that's great, because that's a great comic too. I think it really takes off once Woozy Winks, his sidekick, joins, and the storytelling changes, and and he goes from the page count bumps up from like 6 pages to 8 pages to 10 pages and such, and so he goes from doing smaller panels to try and cram in as much story as possible to um, doing much wider panel layouts, sometimes with just four panels or 5 panels. Um, and so it gives it much more room to breathe, and it does a really, really good job. So this one's well worth checking out. I recommend it. But let's open up some new stuff and see what's in here. Don't need the knife for this one. Actually, maybe I do. Hold on a second. Krypton Ken says, big fan of Jack Cole. Wasn't aware of the Will Eisner connection. That's really cool. This will be your third copy. Each time of Crisis on Infinite Earths, each time has built up more of the tie-in material, connecting art going across the spines of the others, so can't move on them without leaving a gap. Yeah, that's too bad. That's the problem with those Hachette books, is that they do the spine art. So you have to. I mean, that's the ploy, is they want you to get them all so they can get the whole picture. This is Suicide Squad, volume who knows what, volume 1987, sorry, 1986 to 1988. It's called Trial by Fire. This is the John Ostrander and Luke McDonnell era, with some stuff by John Byrne here as well, including this cover, I believe, is John Byrne. But this is a good jumping on point, because this is the start of a series. We've started off with the Legends mini-series, which kind of doesn't have a whole lot to do with the Suicide Squad, but does include them in here. I think it's the formation of this particular iteration of the team. It happens in these pages. So they put the whole miniseries in here, and then they go into issue 1 of the main series here. Let's see if I can find the cover. Oh, that's Secret Origins, Suicide Squad. Let's see if I can find the actual real issue here. There, it's a great cover. I really like that cover. It looks fantastic. It's what they use for the spine art as well, just without the words. And yeah, this is a well-loved series. I think people will really like this era. Um, this is the Bronze Age, post-crisis stuff. So and I can see Deadshot and Captain Boomerang, and I don't know any of those other guys, so we'll see. But I'm going to dig into that this week. We'll see how it turns out. But I've heard a lot of good things about this title. Should be excellent. Okay, got another box here. If they do a Silver Age Suicide Squad, it'll be a thin one. Yeah, I think so. That series didn't last for very long. I know that the old paperback. I have the old paperback of that material, the one that says Silver Age on it, and it's about the same size as this book, but they use really bulky paper, so it's actually, page count wise, it's like half the page count. So you're right, it will be quite a thin one. Anyway, what we have here is an epic collection. How many epics in our books do you read a week? Well, that depends on the books. I usually can get through at least one epic collection, and one DC Finest, if not a little bit more, a week. And then, I like to read other stuff on top of that. So I try to squeeze those in every once in a while. This is the Black Widow Modern Era Epic Collection, Volume 1. It's called Itsy Bitsy Spider, and it has a whole bunch of different miniseries, because Black Widow didn't have an ongoing title at the time. Uh, she just kind of jumped around from series to series. So we have the Black Widow, the 1999 series 1 to 3, and the 2001 series 1 to 3, and then also the 2004 series 1 to 6, and then a couple of minis called Black Widow, Pale Little Spider, and The Things They Say About Her. So that's, what is that, 5 different story arcs all in one volume. This is the first time it's been collected in a big chunky trade like this. And of course, we get Natasha on one side and Yelena on the other. This is the first appearance of Yelena, if you're interested in this character at all. And this is the Marvel Knights era. So when Marvel was kind of picking them out of a bankruptcy issue, they kind of reinvented themselves with a title, with a banner called Marvel Knights, which took some of their street level characters and gave them sort of a more grittier feel. And Black Widow was part of that. And let's see, it has an explicit content warning on the back, and because one of these titles is one of the Marvel Max titles, and which I think this is the first time we're getting some of that material published in an Epic collection. Um, Wraparound cover, and I can't remember which one it is. I'll have to be careful with the pages here. But we have some really good art. I've read some of these stories. Um, this first one I've read, and they're a lot of fun. Great espionage, and a really nice introduction to Yelena. Very different, of course, than the movie character. There's some nice artwork there. Shield comes into play. Oh yeah, this is the Marvel Max series right here. This one. Oh yeah, skip through that. As you can see, each series has a different creative team on it, so each one has its own look and feel. But you can tell based on the artwork that it's all very kind of dark and gritty. That's definitely the tone they were going for those days. Some of this looks almost like a Bill Sienkiewicz kind of a feel. In fact, actually, yeah, Bill Sienkiewicz, it probably was him. He's on the cover here, with work from, let's see here, Devin Grayson, Greg Rucka, Richard K. Morgan. Those are the people who do the writing. J.G. Jones, Scott Hampton, Igor Cordy, Sean Phillips. That's cool. Sean Phillips is the guy who works with Ed Brubaker on all those crime stories. And so he's an awesome artist. He's so good. Yeah, look at that. Yeah, full of that stuff. So that's going to be a good volume. You love this stuff. Not buying it for the epic branding, though. The third Marvel Knights mini focused on Yelena, and it's maybe the weakest in there. That's okay, as long as it's sandwiched between some other stronger material. That's great. One more box to open up here. Let's see what's in this one. I'm glad that you were all able to be here with me tonight, late, especially for those of you on the East Coast. Okay, we were talking about reprints, so here's a reprint for you. X-Men Mutant Genesis is getting a new edition, um, coming back to stock for those of you who missed it the first and second time. I think it's already been reprinted once before. Let's see what it says on the inside here. This one is the third edition first printing. Third edition. And I don't think there's probably going to be anything different about this, content-wise. There were errors in the previous printings. They just were popular. They ran out. The reason why this one is so popular is because this is the beginning of the relaunch, like the Jim Lee era. So you get this big story. Well, first of all, you have a King of Pain annual that goes through the X books, which you may or may not like. It takes up like a third of the book. But then you get into a bunch of X Factor issues where the original team has to face off and tie up a bunch of loose ends that have been happening through not just the X Factor book, but the X-Men book. There's no team at the moment. They've kind of been all over the place. And so this is kind of bringing all of the characters together so that they can be resorted into big, big doing. And it all happens. It's called the Island Saga. And then, of course, we get the very famous X-Men #1 by Claremont and Lee. And this volume has just the first three issues of that series because those are Claremont's final three issues before he leaves and moves on to other stuff. So that's what we have there. Some bonus features, Marvel Age articles, covers promoting stuff, sketches, and process work. Yeah, there you go. So that is X-Men Volume 19, Mutant Genesis, for those of you who missed out the first couple of times. And then the last one here we have today is another X-Men. This is X-Men, this is Ultimate X-Men Epic Collection Volume 1, The Tomorrow People. The start of a new line for the Epic Collections. There's Wolverine there. The Ultimate line, for those of you who don't know, is kind of this just shortly after Marvel Knights, a few years after Marvel Knights, they decided to take the most popular characters and give them new, kind of more up-to-date, modern origin stories that uh, read the way that they were writing comics at the time. Because let's face it, a lot of kids don't identify very well with 1960s comics, and so they wanted something more contemporary that will be memorable to them. And I was part of that. This was 25 years ago now, and so they launched Ultimate Spider-Man with Brian Michael Bendis and Mark Bagley, and then the second title they did was Ultimate X-Men, giving them new costumes and a new lineup. It was by Mark Miller and Adam Kubert, Andy Kubert. They all started that book off. And let's see, this has Ultimate X-Men numbers 1 through 12 plus the half issue. There's the cover to Ultimate Spider-Man. This was super exciting stuff when this came out. It was got a lot of hype, and they put some of their best talent on it. These guys, the Kuberts, were really, really hot at that point, and it was just kind of an exciting mood that was taking over the superhero comic community at the time. This was also started when the internet started to be more accessible and more widely used, and so there's a lot of chatter online about this stuff as well. But yeah, it has two story arcs. The Tomorrow People is one of them, and I forget what the second story arc is called. It's probably in here somewhere. It's called, oh yeah, Return to Weapon X. So the lineup doesn't feature the core five like the original five. It's definitely different than that. Um, Storm is there, and Colossus, and Wolverine, of course. This was also when the movies were coming out, so there's a lot of movie influences here. And this is the first appearance of this Nick Fury, the Black Nick Fury, that we see in the movies now. This is where his I don't know what's going on. I don't know if you can still, if I'm frozen or what, but we'll see. Internet issues. What's the cost on this when you say it still has a $40 price on it, even though it is not the same size as this one. This one has a $50 price. So yeah, these ones are definitely a little bit cheaper. $40 for the thinner one, $50 for the thicker one. Prices might be going up with whatever's going on with tariffs. Who knows? We're still waiting to see how that's going to affect things here. Um, how many Kallax cubes does an entire epic collection fill up? I I think you can fit. I fit about 17, 17, standard size ones in one of those cubes, and you're probably looking at mm, probably 25 or 25 cubes now. So yeah, that's a lot. Weren't the Ultimate collections of the Ultimate Universe books not even finished? If they don't up the page count, I don't have a lot of hope of complete runs on these. Well, you know what? Um, we are like 25 volumes into Amazing Spider-Man Epic Collection. So if you don't have faith that they can't, that they're not gonna keep these going, then I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. Um, it's seems like they're in this for the long haul. But yes, it will take a while because the page counts are smaller. And they could have, yeah, I don't know why they didn't remap these. They could have put 3 story arcs into one of these instead of just 2 and bump it up to maybe like 18 issues. But my guess is that maybe because these are specific story arcs, you have to have certain numbers collected. So I haven't looked. Maybe it means that if they at the very end they'll have an odd number of story arcs, and so then you need to have them in pairs of 2 in order to even it out all the way. I don't know, or maybe they just liked the way that it was collected before and want to keep it that way. No idea. Any more Ultimate collections coming out this year? Yes. So we already got Ultimate Spider-Man Epic Collection is out next week. This one's coming out in April, and then the Ultimates is coming out in May. There's the cover for it right there, and then Fantastic Four is coming out in June. So they're coming out back to back. The Volume Twos have not been announced yet, so I don't know about those. Let me see if I can get you an exact date here. Uh, This one is April 22nd. April 22nd, and then Black Widow is April 15th. And then Suicide Squad is in stores this week. Mutant Genesis is the same as X-Men. So both of these X-Men books are coming out on April 22nd. What's your general opinion on the whole of the latest Epic announcements? More or less exciting as usual? I think we've got to the point where, because we most of the big lines are complete, it feels like we're just crawling to the end, which is not necessarily the case because they're still pumping out, pretty much 2 volumes per year for the most part, and that's been consistent. It's just that we are so close to the end, we want it to be over now. But we so in that sense, it's like, why aren't we done with Captain America? It only needs that one more volume. Instead, we're getting a one on the other end. But I don't know. I was happy with what we got here. We have a lot of gap fillers. We have a lot of uh, runs that made good progress. Um, the the Hawkeye series is complete, and I really like that the that book in particular is collecting the remainder of the Avenger Spotlight issues, even the ones that don't feature Hawkeye. I think that's fantastic. Um, what else did we have here? We got a ROM and a Micronauts volume, which means we're getting 3 books for both of those titles in one year in 2025. They are pumping those out because, of course, those are licensed properties, and the contract will run out if they wait too long. So they're definitely picking up the pace on those. So I'm excited about that. I love that we are getting 2 X-Men volumes pretty much back to back, both 11 and 13. That's really good. Um, and I'm looking forward to some of the new books that they have announced as well, like the new line for the Laura Kinney Wolverine. I think that I hear so much good stuff about that story, and I'm looking forward to reading that one. I think it'll be really great. Um, So yeah, I mean, overall, it had a good variety of classic stuff like Submariner 5 and Incredible Hulk 10. Um, it had a good dose of the 90s stuff for people who like that. Venom Volume 6 and Avengers Volume 27. There's some 80s stuff in there as well with Hawkeye or actually maybe that's bordering on the 90s. Um, and then, yeah, wrapping up things like Annihilation, that event epic is coming to an end as well, so that's good. Um, New lines like Carnage, that's the first time that that's been packaged in a thick collection like that. So that's great for fans of that material. Um, yeah, I think overall really nice. Plus, we got answers as to whether or not they're going to be putting the Heroes Reborn stuff into these lines as well, because the Captain America volume that they announced, Volume 24, is the Heroes Return stuff, which means there will be a Volume 23 with the Heroes Reborn. So that's great. At this pace, how long until we finish Amazing Spider-Man Volume 1? Well, all of those are going to be different answers. Um, Spider-Man's gonna take a long time because they have to go through the Clone Saga stuff, which really slows down because they're packing all of that story into these epic collections, and so it's gonna be like, another 12 volumes, and if they only do one a year, that's gonna be 12 years. Like, that's a long time. So but I imagine, Amazing Spider-Man needs volumes 12, 13, 14, and 16, of the pre-Clone Saga in order to complete that series, and so if they do 1 a year, that's gonna be still 4 years. Um, so they do 1 a year there, and then 1 a year of the Clone Saga, and make some progress there. Um, once those 4 of the early volumes are in there, then they can focus more on the 90s end of things a little bit more. But yeah, we're still a few years out on that one. Daredevil only needs volumes 9, 10, and 11, so that's 3 years. And Captain America just needs one, but they've also moved into the Heroes Reborn stuff, but only one for that first volume. What else did you say? Fantastic Four? Fantastic Four needs 13, 14, 15, and 16, so that's another 4 years. Yeah, so I mean, we still got a little ways to go, but making good progress. And maybe they'll surprise us and give us two of those early volumes like they did with X-Men this year. And I think they did that with Spider-Man last year. We got two early volumes. In fact, this year we're getting two early volumes of Fantastic Four. Volume 11 and 12 are coming out the same year. So yeah, they might pick up the pace that way as well. That would be nice. The exciting part, I think, in particular, is that all of those volumes that we're missing for those characters are the most popular runs of those eras. So like Burns' Fantastic Four, um, Miller's Daredevil, Simonson's Thor, Roger Stern's Spider-Man, Roger Stern's Avengers. All of that stuff is coming now. Like that, we're at that point where we have to get all of those volumes. And so I think the next announcements are going to be a lot of fun because we should be getting some of those stories in there. That double Claremont X-Men was a home run. I agree with you. Reading Carnage Epics 1 and 2 is part of my villains themed reading. Probably grab the latest classic ahead of Modern 1 dropping. Yeah, the latest that classic is, let me see here. Where's Carnage on my list here? That one is probably the one that has the most stuff that hasn't been collected anywhere else. If anyone's going to get any of the Carnage volumes, that's the one to get, because Volume 1 is completely covered by material that's in the Spider-Man epics. And Volume 2 only has a couple of Carnage one-shots that'll be unique to that volume. The rest of it is Spider-Man and Venom-related stuff that you'll find in those epic collections. And then Volume 3 actually has stuff from later on in the Spider-Man series that hasn't been um, collected in epics yet, but also has the Toxin miniseries and a What If issue and a Tales of Spider-Man web spinners issue. All of that stuff will be unique to the Carnage Epic Collection. Kryptonite Kid is here. Hi, Kryptonite Kid. Um, People seem to be excited about that Hulk epic by Mantlo. Is that a revered run? Yes, I think out of all of the Hulk early stuff, if you like, people really like the Ditko era right at the beginning there, and of course the Kirby stuff at the beginning is classic. But people really like the the Bill Mantlo era. Has some really great stories in there. And he and Sal Buscema were on the title for a long time. I think that's going to probably be 4 epic collections that'll cover that material. And then, of course, Peter David is the other side of that through the 90s. And people really like that. And those we need a few of those volumes as well, too. Hulk still has a lot to collect. 16, 17, 18, 11, and 12, and volume 23. That's 6 volumes. So hopefully they can give us a lot more there as well. Because I think we're only getting one Hulk epic in 2025, which is too bad. It'd be nice if we can get another one, but we'll have to wait to 2026. Could they use limited series to add pages to those Hero Reborn epics? I don't think they need to add any limited series because um, there's a lot of yes, it's just 12 issues, but I think the first issue is double sized on all of those books. And there's also the Industrial Revolution crossover. And I don't know if they'll put that in all 4 of the volumes, the same content, but there was there is a crossover there that would bulk it up to 16. It would be the equivalent of 16, so 17 issues. So that's pretty decently epic size. The thing that they could do also is put in the Heroes Return miniseries, which brings those characters back from that Heroes Reborn world and plops them back into the regular continuity. So if they do that, uh, I don't know. Again, I don't know if they would want to do that in every volume because that's pretty redundant. But if you're only buying, let's say, the FF Epic collections, then you might want that story in there. People are saying also that there's room for that in the Hulk Epic collections because Hulk plays a big role in that and changes his character for the content that comes after that. So I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if they will be including it there or not. For anyone in the UK, keep an eye on Traveling Man on social media. There should be another warehouse sale in Leeds in April. Just waiting on a date. Thanks for that, Partworks Comics. Will they do a DC Marvel Epic Final crossover? Um, now that they have that deal for the crossover omnis, that would be actually pretty cool if they could find a trade dress that would be complementary to both. Uh, that would be really, really cool to see that stuff in paperback. I wonder if they do that. That'd be kind of neat. Ultra Megala Nicola OK says, "Hi, Curtis. Good to catch a stream for the first time in too long." Well, I'm kind of at the end of the stream, so you came in a little bit late, but we did talk about, let's see, we talked about Black Widow, this epic collection that has a bunch of her mini series from the late 90s and early 2000s. And then we also did talk about this X-Men epic collection that is being reprinted. These are all coming out in April, along with the Ultimate X-Men Epic Collection Volume 1. So these 3 books are coming out in April. And then I also opened up a box that had Suicide Squad, and I showed off what I've been reading recently, which was Plastic Man, for those of you who are joining late. Raven Nevermore says, "Hey Curtis, longtime follower, first time asking questions." Well, thank you very much for asking the question. How will Conan epics work in a couple years when the character enters the public domain? Can they start reprinting certain stories? The answer to that, unfortunately, is no. Just because the character is in public domain doesn't mean that you can reprint everything that has been done by the character. You can reprint stuff that was published in the public domain years. So, like the earliest, and in fact, I think some of those characters already are in the public domain in certain regions. you can reprint those early books by Robert E. Howard. Those books will belong to everybody. You can do whatever you want with them. But stuff that was created in the 80s, you can't reprint that because that's still intellectual property but owned by somebody, in this case, not Marvel, Robert E. Howard's estate. Um, what it means when the character enters the public domain is that you can create new work based on that character. So if you want to make a new Conan comic, um, and there are actually some comic book companies that are doing that already, because I think public domain laws are different in each region. I think Conan is already public domain in the UK, so there are some UK publishers that are already making Conan books. They're just calling it the Cimmerian or whatever, whatever his race is. Um, uh, the catch is that copyright isn't public domain isn't extended to trademark. It only refers to copyright. So if you have a trademark on a character or a property, you that doesn't enter the public domain. So you can't call your new work Conan the Barbarian because the trademark for Conan the Barbarian is still owned by the Robert E. Howard estate. So you have to be careful about all that kind of stuff. Um, so there's no chance. There's no chance that Marvel can just start reprinting their comics, not for many, many years to come. Does Conan have a cult following? And am I missing something with that character? Absolutely, he absolutely has a cult following of people who love those old books, especially people who just love that side of fantasy. Not just in the comic book world, but in the fantasy collectors, because of course he has a long history of that swords and sandals type storytelling in novels rather than in comics. I fear the numbered volume problem will affect these ultimate epic lines. What do you mean by the numbered volume problem? Like with the crossovers and all that kind of stuff? For the most part, they stayed pretty separate. They still have the volume numbers on the back. Volume 1 is still noted back there. So if you can expand on that, that'd be great. Oh, I see. I need to go back to see the other comments. Do you think there's still a big difference in the classic Spidey Volume 11 and Ultimate Spider-Man Volume 11? They're just continuing the series, so the out-of-order Epic Collection releases is going to make less sense for buyers. So I fear the numbered problem will affect these Ultimate Epic lines. My guess is that they won't publish these ones out of order. Uh, that's my guess. They might, like someone said up in the comments, the old editions of these trade paperbacks, they never finished them. So they might jump ahead like they did with Spider-Girl. I'm not sure. But you're right. Um, there is more continuity in these books than a typical epic collection, where you can just kind of jump into one volume. Funny that the next Wonder Woman Finest and the newly announced JLA and Batman volumes are all from the very end of the Bronze Age. Feels like a theme. Yeah, well, I mean, that stuff hasn't really been well collected. So I think if they're trying to hit up, first of all, popular eras of the characters, but also stuff that hasn't been collected before, then this is their chance. I think they started off all of those lines with some of the more popular content for sure to get people on board, and now they can expand it to stuff that's maybe a little bit more obscure. And I think that's fantastic. I think that's a good, smart way to do things. Hello from Cleveland. Hi, Joel. Some lines have been almost in order anyway. Moon Knight and Hawkeye only jumped ahead for one book before going back to sequential releases. For the shorter releases, that makes sense. To do mostly in order. For Hawkeye, it didn't really matter because each volume is a different era pretty much anyway. There's no ongoing story. All of those ones are different writers and whatnot. Um, Moon Knight, they jumped around just because they were releasing that same material in an omnibus and they didn't want their releases to overlap. Um, and let's see. what's another one? Like Generation X has been 5 straight volumes, and yeah, so like for long running titles like Spider-Man that have been going constantly since 1960, like yeah, you can jump around because there are great jumping on points. There are good places to start and stop, and not everybody wants to wait through the 60s before, it would be a long time if you had to wait for 90s Spider-Man if that's all you want. So the fact that they're jumping around is great. I love it. I'm hoping to see more announcements of modern DC Finest around 2000 to 2011. Yeah, we'll have to see what they decide to do. Uh, what do you think is the reason for only 4 Finest solicits, no more wave announcements? No, it takes a long time to upload those catalogs because it's probably just one person who's doing it. They got to input all of the information, and they're not just doing the finest, they're doing all of the omnis and the absolutes and the compacts, like all of the different lines. They're inputting all of that information. So my guess is that they get an email with all of the content, and it's for a bunch of different books. That one person, the poor intern or whoever it is who gets to do all of that data entry, gets to do it. And that's why we got, like, it wasn't just 4 Finest books that got uploaded to the database. It was, it was like a dozen books or so, but that was their 4-hour allotment for the day. And so we're going to see more of them come out over the next week or probably over the next 2 weeks, as they have the time to do more data entry. So that's it. That's the only reason why there's only 4. The rest will come soon. Oh, I read that one already. Thanks. Is there a problem with the Iron Man Epic Collection War Games by John Byrne? It's out of print and not available digitally. It has never been digital, and I don't know why. It's the only one that has never been digital. We've asked and not gotten a response, so I have no idea why that one in particular is not available. But it is out of print. It's been out of print for a while. Never had a reprint. So if people can vote for it in Omar's upcoming poll, reprint poll, then maybe we can get it on the books, on the schedule. We'll see. Again, I don't know what the reprint schedule is like for Marvel now, what they're planning to do in terms of reprints in general. Hopefully, uh, hopefully we'll get more. Anyway, I think that's it for today. I'm going to sign off here and thank everybody for being part of this late night live stream on Saturday night. You don't have anything else to do, I guess. Neither do I. So here we are, chatting away on the internet. So um, let's see. I'll be back next week with some more boxes to unpack, and we'll talk more about these 2 lines, DC Finest and Epic Collections. So thanks everybody for joining me. Thanks for your questions. I really appreciate it. Always makes it more fun to answer questions and to interact with all of you. So yeah, please like the video, subscribe, share it around, and we'll see you next time.